The very choice of Cainites as a name derived from the biblical figure of Cain, the first murderer, and this immediately sets this Gnostic sect apart. In mainstream Judeo-Christian tradition, Cain is a symbol of primal sin, fratricide, and rebellion against God's will. He is cursed and marked, and is a figure of condemnation and a warning against transgression. This negative portrayal is deeply ingrained in the traditional understanding of the Genesis narrative. The Cainites' adoption of this condemned figure as their namesake was a deliberate and provocative act. It signaled a complete reversal of conventional moral judgments and a rejection of the established religious hierarchy. By embracing Cain, they were not simply reinterpreting a single biblical story, they were challenging the entire framework of good and evil as defined by orthodox interpretations of Scripture. This act of naming also served as a powerful statement of identification with the marginalized and the outcast. Cain, as a wanderer and a marked man, represents those who are rejected and excluded by society. The Cainites' embrace of him suggests a sympathy for those who are considered outside the accepted norms and a willingness to challenge the established order. The name Cainites, therefore, encapsulates a core element of their belief system, a radical reinterpretation of Scripture, a focus on figures deemed negative by mainstream tradition, and a clear rejection of conventional morality. It was a bold statement of their heterodoxy and their commitment to a different understanding of the divine and the human condition. The Cainites emerged during the early centuries of the Common Era, a period of intense religious and intellectual ferment within the Roman Empire. Mentions of them appear in the writings of church fathers such as Irenaeus, Tertullian, and Hippolytus, placing them firmly in the 2nd century CE and suggesting their existence even earlier. This period was crucial for the development of both Christianity and Gnosticism, the various interpretations of Scripture and diverse theological systems vying for acceptance. This time frame is significant because it situates the Cainites within the formative period of Gnostic thought. They were contemporaries of other early Gnostic groups such as the Valentinians and the Sethians, and shared many common themes, including a dualistic worldview, a rejection of the Old Testament God as the supreme deity, and an emphasis on gnosis as the path to salvation. The fact that these early church fathers wrote against the Cainites is crucial to our knowledge of them. Even though their accounts are undoubtedly biased, these heresiological writings, while polemic and intended to discredit Gnostic teachings, provide valuable, although filtered, glimpses into the beliefs and practices of the Cainites and other Gnostic groups. They are, in many cases, our only direct sources of information. The early appearance of the Cainites within the Gnostic movement underscores the importance of this movement in the broader context of religious history. They represent an early example of a group that radically reinterpreted the Bible, biblical narratives, and challenged established religious authority, contributing to the rich diversity of religious expression in the ancient world. While precise details about their geographic distribution remain uncertain due to the nature of our sources, it is generally accepted that the Cainites were primarily located in the eastern part of the Roman Empire. This vast region encompassed diverse cultural and religious centers, including Syria, Egypt, and Asia Minor, which is modern-day Turkey. These areas were hubs of intellectual and spiritual exchange where various religious and philosophical traditions interacted and influenced one another. This geographical context is crucial for understanding the potential influences of Cainite thought. The Eastern Roman Empire was a melting pot of different beliefs, including Judaism, various forms of early Christianity, Hellenistic philosophy, and numerous mystery religions. This environment of religious pluralism likely contributed to the development of Gnostic thought in general and the specific beliefs of the Cainites. The presence of diverse religious and philosophical currents in this region created a fertile ground for the emergence of heterodox movements like Gnosticism. The Cainites, situated within this context, were likely exposed to a variety of ideas and practices which may have contributed to their unique interpretations of Scripture and the rejection of conventional religious norms. Although pinpointing specific locations is difficult, the general consensus places the Cainites within a region of significant religious and cultural exchange. This geographic context is essential for understanding the broader historical and intellectual environment in which the Cainites emerged and developed their distinctive beliefs. The most distinctive feature of the Cainites was their veneration of Cain, the biblical figure who murdered his brother Abel. This was a direct challenge to the traditional Judeo-Christian interpretation of Cain as the epitome of evil. The Cainites reinterpreted Cain's actions viewing him not as a perpetrator of evil, but as a victim of the demiurge, the flawed creator god of Gnostic cosmology. They saw Cain as having been unjustly condemned by this lesser imperfect deity. This positive view of Cain extended to other figures considered negatively in the Old Testament, such as Esau, Korah, and the inhabitants of Sodom. These individuals were seen as having either possessed secret knowledge that threatened the demiurge's authority, or as having been unjustly punished by him. The Cainites' veneration of these outcast figures reflects a broader Gnostic tendency to identify with those marginalized by established religious institutions and to challenge conventional morality. Unlike some other Gnostic groups who viewed the demiurge as merely ignorant or misguided, the Cainites often considered him actively evil, intentionally creating the material world as a prison to prevent humanity from returning to the true transcendent God. This more negative view of the demiurge further justified their rejection of the Old Testament God and his laws, which they saw as instruments of oppression designed to keep humanity enslaved to the material realm. A key aspect of the Cainite belief, as reported by their detractors, was their antinomianism, the belief that since the material world and its laws were created by an evil or flawed creator, they weren't bound by conventional morality. This antinomian stance could have led to practices considered immoral or libertine by orthodox Christians, although the extent and nature of these practices are difficult to ascertain due to the biased nature of the sources. This focus on antinomianism further emphasizes the Cainites' rejection of the demiurge's authority and their embrace of alternative moral frameworks.